Where do you think Bitcoin lands in 5 years?
Yeah, so 5 years is a long time away, and I do want to show you the chart on Bitcoin here. It's got some fascinating replications to past cycles. So here's Bitcoin, right? And here you can see how we came up just underneath this little pivot high right here. This again was around 54,000. We went to about 53, and then you saw a little bit of a dump. For the longest time after I called this move down to 30,000, I said it could retrace to what I call the scene of the crime, which is this trend line right here, at which point you'd likely see some downside action. Now, if we go back, and this is where it gets really kind of cool, let's go back to previous cycles. So if we bring up this chart here, which is the 2013 move to the upside, you can see we ran from basically $100 on Bitcoin to 1,250. You then corrected to 500, bounced back to 1,100. So notice how close it was to the high of 1,250. And you again got back to 1,100, and then you fell down to 100 right here, right? So my point is here, if we go back to the Bitcoin chart, this top of 65,000, the run up to 65,000, which was just a meteoric run to the upside, this drop is very reminiscent to that initial drop that we saw in 2013. And then this rally is very much like the rally we saw back in 2014 before the next big wave of selling. So again, if we just go back to this chart, you had the big run up just like we saw to 65,000, the big dip to 30,000 in 2013, it was 500. Then the bounce back, we saw about 53,000. It was 1,100 back in 2014. And then the idea being is that you're going to roll over and have a bigger move down to a price target of around 20,000 to 18,000. And that would probably be in the next, I would say in the next 6 to 8 months, I would guess. Now, the last thing I want to show you guys here is looking back at the 2017 cycle high. The question again is, does it replicate? And the answer is it does. Here was your run up in 2017 to 20,000, dip to 11,000, bounce back to 17,000, down to 5,000 or sub 5,000. So again, just going back to what we've seen here, you have to think that this is that same run up before the next leg lower, which takes you down to my 6 to 8 month target of around 18 to 20,000 down here. Now, you asked the question of, where do I see Bitcoin in 5 years? I actually think Bitcoin in 5 years is north of 100,000. I actually do. But I still think that there's a deleveraging event in this market that has to be, you have to flush out a lot of the weak hands. There are so many investors that are the hodlers, the ones that they swear that they're going to hold forever. But we'll see when you start to see a bear market in equities, in crypto, and all of these things, whether or not that holds true. I think you have to flush a lot of people out. I still remember in 2018, after that initial 20,000 high, you got to a point where people were thinking that Bitcoin was done. You got to a point where CNBC didn't show the ticker of Bitcoin on their screen anymore. And that was where the bottom was. So we haven't seen that yet on Bitcoin. There's still way too many bulls. It's got to go lower, in my opinion, before it finally rallies and goes and becomes the future digital gold.
Okay, so we're expecting another dip from Bitcoin in the near future?
Yes. Yeah, I do believe another dip is on the horizon. Absolutely.